June 7th, 2023. Guess we should begin by saying, oh damn, who blew up the dam? Huh? Well, and of course, it looks like we've completed about 3 days so far on the Ukrainian offensive. I guess that's the Ukrainian offensive. So we'll kind of look into these issues here. First, on the dam. I would point out that there's conflicting stories. Apparently, Ukraine has blamed the Russians, and Russia is blaming Ukraine for blowing up the dam. And so, put it this way, I haven't come to a decision on it. I know that I just saw that Tucker Carlson, in his debut on Twitter, has blamed the Ukrainians for doing it, and Scott Ritter also makes an argument that the Ukrainians are behind it. Initially, I was sort of maybe a little bit the other way, but there's also a case. I saw another news article where a Ukrainian officer was bragging about the damage it might have inflicted some casualties on Russian troops or on the river line, I guess as part of the Russian defensive positions on their side of the river. So I don't know. I mean, that's I guess this is going to be a UN investigation, and so we'll have to see where that goes. I mean, part of the question, it looked to me, just looking at the video, like perhaps this was done due to some explosives that were, perhaps buried inside of the dam. However, I've also come to find out that there'd been previous Ukrainian artillery and rocket attacks on the dam itself previous to that. And the question is, why would they be attacking their own dam? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless given the amount of, damage that would do to civilians and ecologically and so forth. It seems kind of strange unless they really did want to do it for military purpose. And it's similar to the rocket attacks on the Zaporizhzhia nuclear reactor. Again, it makes no sense for Russia to attack a target that they themselves were occupying with their own personnel. So I guess I started off initially thinking this must have been a kind of a Russian move, maybe because it was kind of a way to make it defenses better. But now I'm hearing actually it benefited the Ukrainians from a military point of view, according to Scott Ritter. So let's put it this way, that one's up in the air. I'm not going to come to a verdict on that. The simple fact is it happened. I think from an analysis point of view, it would seem like if there could be an examination. I mean, do the Russian, who actually held the dam? Whose troops occupied the area? I guess is the question. Did the Ukrainian troops occupy the area? Did Russians? If missile attack was doing it, and I think that's one of the Russian claims that was done with the HIMARS missile systems. If that was the case, is there any radar tracks, records of incoming missiles? I mean, the video that apparently I think is of Ukrainian origin, I guess, I don't know, that we've seen the explosion goes blank when the explosion actually hits, and we only see explosions afterwards. So anyway, so I don't want to belabor this, but I think that this will be a big controversy and so forth. And I'm a little unclear. I mean, since this was always a possibility, I would think the Russians would be naive to build their defenses without some taking into account the possibility that Ukraine might do something like this. And obviously, if the defenses were damaged by it, it would seem almost obvious that Russia didn't do it. Well, I don't want to blame. That's kind of that. By the way, if you like these videos, please give me a like, and need more subscribers. We need to get those subscriptions up. Yeah, so, but the other point is, for the last 3 days, it looks like the Ukrainian offensive has been underway. Right after my last video, I kind of said that I thought that the movement up toward Belgorod was a feint, which I think it still is. But we see these southern attacks, which I was saying is probably the direction they would go. And it does look like that as the time has evolved, multiple brigades have been involved in these attacks. My perception is that the best of the Ukrainian forces haven't been committed yet. And the Russians are trying to claim that they've inflicted fairly heavy casualties on the Ukrainian attackers. and also shot down like 2 airplanes, Su-27 and a 25. So again, that's one of those things that the attacks are ongoing, and we'll just have to kind of keep up with, see what happens next. And other developments that have been going on is that the Russians, on the other hand, seem to be on the offensive in Marinka area and are slowly but surely assaulting the town and have occupied most of it. And this was going on prior to the Ukrainian offensive and still continues afterwards. It doesn't seem like that's interrupted that at all. There's also the northern area, um, just south of the Belgorod region, as far north as Russia occupies. In that area, there seems like there's an effort for the Russians to create a bridgehead across the river, which might allow their reserve forces to go forward. And really, the Ukrainian forces in that region are kind of light, except for some artillery units that are continuing to bombard Russian territory. So, that seems to be a possible offensive that's going on. And as I said earlier, it looks as if in the south so far that the Russians' first line of defense is pretty much held, and they have a multi-layer defense, in some areas as much as 5 lines of defense. So it seems to me that so far the going isn't that good. But again, I tend to think that the best of the Ukrainian forces haven't been unleashed yet, perhaps. So I think that we'll just have to continue to monitor that situation, see how it pans out. And as far as going back to the dam issue and the flooding, um, I'm still a little bit up in the air as to how the flooding would really facilitate the Ukrainian offense, other than if, in fact, the Russians built their obstacles and defenses too close to the water line and actually lost personnel in this, water flooding. But I'm not sure about that. But I would say that there is a possibility of an amphibious type assault across the river. And I've seen some references a few weeks ago about the Ukrainians acquiring that sort of equipment. And there is a Marine brigade in that area. There's a Ukrainian Marine brigade in that area. So there's a possibility that they will attempt to assault across the river just to kind of flank the Russian defenses and maybe create some more problems. I mean, the whole idea, I think, has been to try to create multiple pressure points in order to get some sort of advantage. But and so far, it doesn't look like they've really got there. So we'll just have to continue to follow this. Now, another thing that's kind of a comedy sort of what can be comedic in this conflict, as terrible as it is. But apparently, the Russians, some Russian blogger, at any rate, claimed the destruction of a Leopard tank that the Ukrainians were fielding, and it turned out it was a piece of farm equipment. It looks like a combine or something. It was blown up with some kind of anti-tank weapon. So somebody got their egg on their face for that one, but I don't think it's a big issue. And so, at any rate, that's kind of about it for now in the developments in the war. And we'll, of course, as always, be posting this on a Rumble, as well as here. And of course, the addresses of my social media accounts are in the description below. And I'll also put a link to the Tucker Carlson's first broadcast on his Twitter deal. See if you're interested in that. So, and until next time.